Hey everyone, and welcome to my channel called Political. So this video is more for Western viewers to sort of understand what's going on in terms of Russia and Navalny. But if you're from an Eastern European country, or even Russia in particular, welcome and thanks for watching. So before I start this video, I just want to get across that this is definitely going to be a bit of a controversial one in terms of well, let's just say if Putin finds this, I fully expect Russian bots to start attacking this video, and I'm not even really joking there. Those that know. So if you could give a thumbs up and comment below on your thoughts, I'd really love to get a discussion going, because it's definitely an interest of mine and hopefully yours too. Thanks in advance. So feel free to ask any questions, by the way, and I'll try and answer them and perhaps even make a video out of them myself. So, who is Alexei Navalny? He's Russia's leading opposition figure. He is currently the head of, or the leader of, Russia of the Future Party, which is essentially Russia's only main opposition party. I know there's other parties out there. I don't want to dismiss them at all, but in terms of sort of leadership and following, that's definitely the core opposition party in Russia. So I'm going to go through recent events really quickly and just run through it, because the entire history of this really deserves hours and hours of discussion, and I'm aware people on YouTube don't really come to YouTube for that. So on Saturday, there were mass protests across Russia in response to Navalny being arrested. Most sources indicate that there were around 100 or so cities and towns that had protests, and it was easily the biggest since 2018. Looking back, across numbers and whatever else, there's not been anything like this for a couple of years in Russia. And if you don't know Russian politics, what you should know is that effectively being Navalny is a death sentence in terms of being a critic of Putin and his government. As anyone that follows these things know, they'll either be shot or poisoned, which may happen to me as well, but I shouldn't really even joke about that. So Navalny is a massive critic of Putin and his corrupt allies, and he's been campaigning for human rights and fair elections within Russia for quite a long time, and very visibly, and that is the key issue for the Russian government, I suppose, is that he's very visible, he's very easy to follow. So I'm not going to go into Putin and my thoughts on that. That deserves its own video as well. But yeah, this isn't the first time Navalny's been arrested, and there's a lot more background to this person than one event, but I just want to focus on recent events of this year. So in August last year, Alexei Navalny was poisoned by a Novichok nerve agent. Similar poisonings have occurred in recent years, and just to put it in perspective, it's nothing short of a chemical weapon, and probably the deadliest one out there, or at least the one that we know of. And by we, I mean essentially the world. I'm very certain that there's deadlier poisons out there, and different poisons that we're not aware of that aren't in the public domain. That, even the UK or the US have invented. This isn't supposed to be a video purely focused on Russia at all, really, in terms of pointing them up to be the bad guys. So anyway, that got essentially Navalny had to be put into a coma to be treated, and he was flown to a German hospital, recovered there over a matter of weeks, and he was essentially really lucky not to die. Most people would have died from an attack like that, and frankly, that was what Putin intended, assuming that he ordered the hits, which I don't think anyone would touch Navalny without his permission, put it that way. I guess people can come to their own conclusions on that as well. So after recovering over a matter of months and using social media as a sort of platform to communicate with the people back in his home country, he decided to return to Russia on the 17th of January this year, and he was immediately arrested upon arrival. So he was tried in a makeshift court in a police station, and he was told he would be detained until mid-February, because he was in violation of his parole, or at least that's what they said. There's going to be a decision made on the 29th of January by the Russian government about whether or not he should serve a jail term or not. Whether or not anything happens to him in between now and then, who knows? It's kind of, I guess the point to make is that he might be untouchable now in terms of the amount of attention on him from across the world. But groups such as Amnesty International have essentially declared that he's a prisoner of conscience and called on the Russian authorities to release him. And I fully expect Biden and whoever else to get more involved as this sort of progresses. But we'll have to see. Navalny essentially described the whole procedure as ultimate lawlessness, and he's fully against it, and as you'd expect. And essentially, what we are now in this position of is that the protests have occurred as a reaction to that. He called everyone out onto the streets and said, "Look, start protesting against this. Now's the time." And while he was doing this, he actually released a documentary, which I'll link down below in the description. It's essentially called Putin's Palace, and it's a very, very good video about essentially how Putin is probably the world's wealthiest man. I'm not going to go into describing it too much. It's an hour and a half long, but it's very, very detailed and very good. So I would recommend watching it if you are into these things. But just to give some perspective, these protests were definitely the biggest in years, and it could be something bigger. But the Russian government is very, very good at setting up and controlling sort of all media in terms of what people see and hear, and it sounds very George Orwell 1984. That's because it is, guys. Essentially, in Russia, what you see is what the government wants you to see, and what they don't want you to see is often hidden. They're very good at controlling the internet. They have their own, effectively they do have their own internet in terms of what they see and don't see, and that's going to not go down well, I know, with quite a few Russians, but that is essentially the truth. And you could say the same about Western countries too. So again, I'm not going to draw parallels here, but it is the same everywhere to some degree. Putin's a mastermind, no doubt about it, but he's not invincible. And hopefully with Biden in the White House, this ends up developing in something where the US can actually get back on the world stage, and things are going to get interesting. So if you did enjoy this little brief overview, very brief I know, please do like the video, as I said, and comment down below, let me know your thoughts on it. And that's pretty much it for now, but I would love to know what you guys want to see and what you want to talk about, or for me to look into. I could become a pseudo-journalist for you, or at least try. But yeah, hope you guys are staying healthy during the pandemic, staying as healthy as you can, obviously, with all the lockdowns and whatever else going on, and take it easy. I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much.
Минуту назад вывели из камеры для встречи с адвокатами. Я пришел сюда, здесь происходит заседание Химкинского суда. Какие-то люди меня снимают на камеру, какие-то люди сидят в зале. Называется это все открытое заседание Химкинского суда, и рассматривается вопрос о моем взятии под стражу.